we'll take a look at the starting lineups for Connecticut. They have used the same starting five every game this season for Kurt Miller. And for the LA Sparks, they will keep their starting five they've had throughout these playoffs. Although Derek Fisher did tell us you could see some changes personnel-wise throughout the rotation. He said they won't leave anything in the cupboard. The season is on the line for LA, facing elimination. The Sun a win away from the finals as Jonquel Jones wins the tip for the Connecticut Sun. Connecticut was a much different team on the road this season as Williams misfires. Connecticut 15-2 at home, 8-9 on the road. LA was 7-10 on the road, 15-2 at home. Gray, an early jumper, too strong, and Jasmine Thomas the rebound.
You would think LA would look to establish Chelsea Gray early. She has not been a consistent scoring threat throughout this series. So important to what they do.
Strickland fires away in the long rebound. Bunny hop grab from Raquana Williams. Gray the no look. Parker waits and finishes.
So important for LA to have an effective and spry-looking Candace Parker on both ends of the floor.
Her 3 points in game 2 are the second fewest of her playoff career. Williams' jumper is good. How about Courtney Williams, averaging 20 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists through the first 2 games of the semifinals.
She's been terrific. She's playing the best basketball of her career at the right time.
Good look for Ruffin Pratt. She can't hit, and Williams flags it down.
That look for Ruffin Pratt's going to be there all night. That is the shot Connecticut wants LA taking, so they're going to play off of her.
Jones will fire a 3 halfway down before it popped out. LA has won 15 straight home games, including the playoffs. Those games, though, normally played at Staples Center, not here at Long Beach State. Ruffin Pratt's turnaround is good.
And a smart decision by Ruffin Pratt. She is going to force the defense to be honest, doing that by cutting through the lane and getting an easy look.
Here is Thomas rummaging through the lane. Jasmine will give it up. 5 to shoot. Strickland just hops it to Alyssa Thomas, and a nice defensive set from LA. Here is Parker in transition, threw it away. Courtney Williams with LA back. Good movement, and Strickland can't hit the 3.
Offensive rebounding by Connecticut killed LA in game 2. They have done a much better job here of corralling the defensive boards after playing solid D.
A 16-4 advantage on the offensive glass in game 2 in favor of Connecticut. Connecticut was the best offensive rebounding team in the W this season. Second in defensive rebounding percentage. Meanwhile, that's an area LA struggled. They were 10th in both offensive and defensive rebounding percentage. Great hands by Thomas. 3 on 2. Thomas finds Williams for the lay.
In game 1, it was turnovers that really hurt Los Angeles. The last 2 possessions for LA resulted in turnovers.
They had 19 of them in game 1. Ruffin Pratt bodies in, flips out. Gray will pull. No. Williams stops on a dime. She had to look at the rim, didn't see it. And Thomas misfires. And a foul that'll stay right here as Candace Parker called for the loose ball whistle.
Connecticut's been stellar defensively throughout the course of this series, and we saw it early in game 1, getting the ball out of Chelsea Gray's hands by trapping her. And then one thing that it's hurt LA is turnovers. One of the reasons it leads to fast break points the other way. Alyssa Thomas, a terrific facilitator.
And one of the things Derek Fisher told us before the game is they may try and put Chelsea Gray in more situations off the ball to try and help her on the offensive end. Strickland's 3 rolls off. Connecticut 0 for 4 from three-point range in the early going.
Here you go with Gray off the ball.
Oh, Parker, nice move, just couldn't finish. Here comes Thomas, a Bulldog seeking contact, found it in Williams, then gets tied up, and it's a joke with Wnba.
Laquan Williams complaining to your official, but that's what Alyssa Thomas does. You called her a heat-seeking missile, a heat-seeking missile in game 2. Well, she's going to come down. She's like a bowling ball going through the bowling pins, trying to get to the rim. It's a foul, by the way, on the arm.
How would you counteract the physicality of Thomas if you're LA?
You have to equal it. You absolutely have to equal it. Instead of going and complaining to the officials, you just have to be willing to not only absorb contact, but you got to initiate it sometimes too, Ryan. It comes down to your toughness.
And that's something Derek Fisher has been imploring his team to dispense as well, as Gray can't finish the layup, and it's out of bounds off of Wnba, getting earlier minutes here for LA with Candace Parker heading to the bench.
Candace looked a little bit tired to me last time down, trailing the play defensively, so smart early sub by Derek Fisher.
Just a 4-4 game, nearly midway through the first. Thomas backs it out to Jasmine Thomas. Williams leaner in a foul from Raquana Williams. And not a smart one, as Williams didn't have much going on there.
And to revisit the substitution of Wnba for Candace Parker, you don't have quite the same offensive skill set from Wnba, but it's an upgrade defensively, and it's an upgrade in terms of rebounding, especially on the offensive end.
This is the YouTube TV Try It free throw. Watch WNBA games at 70+ live channels when you try YouTube TV for free at tv.youtube.com. I was watching YouTube TV earlier today. It's delightful.
Delightful?
Yeah.
I'm glad you were delighted by YouTube TV.
I was. Williams has all 5 points thus far for Connecticut. Also 3 rebounds. And yes, her father did travel here to Long Beach.
Wearing the matching visitors uniform. He had the matching visitors, not the whole uniform, the jersey on, or the home jersey on in game 1 and 2.
He's become a star in this series. Gray off one leg, And Strickland flags it down. Chelsea Gray unable to connect on a couple of those tough jumpers. Here is Williams with 2 on her, puts it in, and the foul. Well, Courtney Williams with 7 points, all of Connecticut scoring here in the first.
The WNBA Playoffs 2019 is brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. And the new toasted cheddar chalupa at Taco Bell.
Welcome back to Long Beach here with LA Sparks star Nneka Ogwumike. And Nneka, an important moment in my mind. You just really matched the physicality of Alyssa Thomas with some of your own. How important is that with how she plays?
I mean, not just how she plays, but how the series has been going. We have to establish the physicality, and that's something that we talked about going into game 3.
Feels like your defensive pressure has been turned up. How as a group have you turned that up?
We just want to be the ones to assert ourselves on the court, and so I think we're doing a good job of that. We have to now be able to turn that into flow on offense.
Thank you.
Thanks, Holly.
Yeah, there definitely has been a little bit of a lack of flow for both teams, both shooting in the 20s in terms of their field goal percentage, but yes, LA's willingness to match Connecticut, and in particular Alyssa Thomas, in terms of their physicality, is going to be a huge part in who wins this game.
Meanwhile, Courtney Williams now 1 of 3 from the line. Remember, that is an area where Connecticut struggles, by far the worst free throw shooting team in the WNBA this season. Sydney Weiss gets loose. Misfires on a 3. It's Chinea Ogwumike, Sydney Weiss, Nneka, Elena Beard, and Chelsea Gray on the floor for LA as Jonquel Jones connects on a difficult shot.
Nneka Ogwumike played tremendous defense on that. She got help from Sydney Weiss, and it didn't matter. The all-star Jonquel Jones still scored.
Gray still can't find the stroke. Gray now 0 for 5 from the floor. Chelsea Gray, who we're so used to seeing dominate this time of year, Just hasn't found her shot.
Jonquel Jones, you know she's going to go over her right shoulder. That's the way she likes to turn with the fade, unguardable at 6'6".
LA has missed its last 7 shots. They won't have another one here. Williams speeding to the rim, lays it in. And just like that, Connecticut has an 11-4 lead. They're on a 9-0 run.
Turnovers. Turnovers have been such a problem for LA at times in this series.
Wnba bullying her way inside and doesn't get the roll. And Jonquel Jones able to fingertip the rebound in traffic. And now Connecticut with numbers. 3-on-2. Thomas wants it. That's a charge. And a big call, because one way you can neutralize Alyssa Thomas is getting her in foul trouble.
The only way you can neutralize her in this series is by getting her off the floor. And that was another reason that was a huge play. There were 3 defenders trailing that play. Connecticut was going to score if this charge was not taken.
First personal on Alyssa Thomas. Good look inside from Cheney, and Beard uses the window to end the 9-0 run and end the streak of 8 straight missed field goals for LA.
It's found money when Elena Beard or Tierra Ruffin-Pratt scores the basketball, because their main focus is on the defensive end of the floor.
Jasmine Thomas traveled, and Connecticut turns it over. And one of the things Derek Fisher talked to us about was, if Tierra Ruffin-Pratt is not providing enough on defense and rebounding, then LA will have to look to space the floor more. And he talked about getting more time for Sydney Weiss. And we see Weiss getting early minutes here in this first half. Again, can't hit the 3, and it's going to stay right here, as Chinea Wnba worked hard to put a foul on Jonquel Jones there, her first.
And a great job by LA and Elena Beard, knowing that with Beard in the lineup right now, that's who Connecticut is helping off of. So what does LA do? They use her as a screener. That last possession, screen after screen after screen. She's the reason they got the open look in the first place. Not going to guard me? Fine. I will find other ways to be involved offensively.
Gray to Beard in the corner, difficult look. And again, Cheney was tied up with Jonquel underneath. Here comes Holmes. Fouled by Gray. 2 free throws coming for Bria Holmes, who has really done a nice job off the bench in this series for Connecticut.
She's been their best bench production off the bench the entire season, Bria Holmes has. And we just saw what she likes to do, and that's attack the rim.
Holmes in her 3rd year. And hits the free throw. Don't miss your chance to catch your favorite players' teams and the continued WNBA playoff action in person. Get your tickets today at WNBA.com/tickets. And Holmes goes 1 for 2. Jones able to claw the offensive rebound. Holmes can't stick the landing, though, and then Cheney comes flying in for the rebound.
And much better effort on the defensive glass so far here in Game 3 for LA.
Connecticut has bottled up LA's offensive efforts in this first quarter. Parker handing it off to Gray. Gray, no room. Weiss will fire. Boy, it has just been hard for LA to find any space. Here's Jasmine Thomas, stolen by Beard, the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Gray in transition, denied by Jones.
How good has Connecticut's defense been so far in this game? This is a much improved defensive team. It starts with Jasmine Thomas. She's a terrific on-the-ball defender, but when you have one of the best shot blockers in the game, it helps as well.
And a foul against Alyssa Thomas before the ball's inbounded, which is significant for 2 reasons. One, it's number 2 on Thomas. 2, it was before the ball was inbounded, so LA gets a free throw for whoever they choose, and they get to retain possession. And Thomas will check out.
Both coaches in this series have referred to Alyssa Thomas as a bully. Kurt Miller says it affectionately. Derek Fisher does not. And we've seen her be very physical throughout the series without getting fouls called on her. 2 here early. This is big.
Window open for LA. Thomas didn't sit a minute in this series until Connecticut had an enormous lead at the end of game 2. The 6 minutes, really 5.5, that she hasn't played in this series were all garbage time in game 2. So for her to be on the bench when things are still on the line here in this first half, that is a change and a welcome one for LA.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let me hear you.
Meanwhile, LA has missed 12 of their last 13 shots. We'll see if things open up with Thomas on the bench. Gray throws it away. Courtney Williams on the steal. She has Holmes racing ahead for 2.
And I talked to Kurt Miller before the game and asked him, you know, if Alyssa Thomas has to come out for whatever reason, where do you miss her most? And he said on the defensive end of the floor, even more than her ability to facilitate, she anchors us defensively. Wow, look at Morgan Tuck and Wnba going at it inside. That cleared the lane for Elena Beard.
Easiest bucket we've seen in a while for LA. 45 seconds remaining in quarter number 1 of game 3 as Jones can't hit. Opportunity for Los Angeles, 2 for 1 here. Parker not able to finish.
She's gotten some rest this first quarter. Gives her the legs to make that move.
Already more points than she had in all of game 2. 4 in this first for Parker. 7-second difference, game and shot clock. Thomas will fire. No. 10 seconds remaining in this first. LA can hold for 1. Parker flashing to the Connecticut.
That last defensive sequence for LA was outstanding. They were playing really good, energetic half-court defense, and it led to a fast break the other way.
Foul charge to number 5, Jasmine.
And that's a foul on Jasmine Thomas, her first.
Candace Parker, when she's in attack mode, is when she's at her best, and we've seen that a lot more here in game 3 than we did in game 2.
Parker misses the free throw. Both teams have struggled to shoot it in this first quarter. LA 0 of 6 from deep. Connecticut 0 of 7 as Gray gets an early start. No. And that'll do it. A missed opportunity at the end of the first for Parker as she misses a pair at the line. A defensive first quarter. LA looking to stave off elimination. Connecticut a win away.
Welcome back to Los Angeles here with Connecticut's Sun head coach Kurt Miller. And Alyssa Thomas, as you have said, sets the tone for your team on defense. She gets those 2 fouls. You have to take her out and they score 4 straight points. How do you absorb her on the bench right now?
Yeah, we just got to be smart. I mean, this game is really, really elementary. Tremendous pros can't make an open shot right now on either team. It's just ugly basketball. Both teams have got to slow down, take a deep breath. We know how big this game is, but we've got to absorb it. Alyssa's going to be able to play with foul trouble, but we need to take her out for a little bit. We'll be fine with that.
Thank you, Coach.
I think a big, important piece of the first quarter was that for the first time in this series, I felt like LA has really matched Connecticut's toughness and physicality.
Alexis Jones getting some early minutes for LA as we start the second quarter, and Wnba floats in her first bucket.
Connecticut really hasn't had an answer for Wnba so far in this series. She has been stellar.
And the one player who has consistently performed in these playoffs for LA, and that's a travel. And Wnba taking a little shot on that. Game 3 of a best-of-5 semifinal series. Connecticut a 2-0 series lead. LA 15 straight home wins, albeit those came at Staples Center. Jones buries a 3, and that is why she's in there.
Way to step up to the moment, young one.
A 9-0 LA run that has coincided with Alyssa Thomas going out of the game with 2 fouls. Tuck can't squeeze it in, and it's out of it.
Elena Beard playing lockdown defense on Courtney Williams. On the other end, Alexis Jones, fearless. First touch, first shot, money.
And that is what Derek Fisher was telling us before the game. If they're not getting enough defense and rebounding from Tierra Ruffin-Pratt, they will look to explore other options that could space the floor better. Likes the way that Alexis Jones also allows Chelsea Gray to play off the ball.
Well, and clearly both teams need some offense. Some offensive answers here so far. As Kurt Miller pointed out, it's been ugly.
In the corner, Jasmine Thomas, an open look, and connecting.
Jasmine Thomas.
Thomas hits Connecticut's first 3 after Jones hit LA's. But Diva waits, takes, can't hit. Probably had the cleanest look when she first caught it.
Yeah.
Holmes fires, no. And Vadiva trying to get on the glass. Instead, it's Tuck cleaning it up.
Morgan Tuck looking good here early for Connecticut. She's the type of player who can give you something off the bench. She comes in for Alyssa Thomas, and she is a perimeter threat.
Jones sets up a long jumper way off. And Tuck will flag it down and let it tilt out of bounds.
Now this is a balance for these guys coming in off the bench, right? You've come in to give your team a shot in the arm, but how do you manage that energy and knowing that they need offense with taking good, smart shots, making the right decisions?
Holmes was bumped, no call, and that's going to be an offensive foul against Jonquel Jones, and that will be number 2 on Jones.
LA done a really good job matching Connecticut also in terms of turnover discrepancy and offensive rebounds. One of the stories throughout the course of the series is Connecticut consistently getting positive double digits in terms of field goal attempts per game in terms of the discrepancy.
They shot 16 more shots in game 2. They shot 14 more shots in game 1.
Thank you for explaining what I so poorly tried to.
That's why we're peanut butter jelly.
Exactly.
And the marshmallow stuff is Holly. You know, like that stuff to make the fluffer number sandwich? Yeah, fluff. Thank you.
Hollies are fluff.
Hollies are fluff. She's so much more than that, though. But she's what makes everything taste wonderful on the broadcast. Gray can't finish.
Wow, that was amazing. Just terrific defense by Jasmine Thomas.
Alyssa Thomas can't control it, and it's out of bounds off of Connecticut.
Sure, Alyssa Thomas thought she had it should have been a foul on Maria Vadiva on that last possession, but play on.
6 turnovers now for Connecticut. 2 more than LA so far in this first half. Gray was a second late to get it to Nneka, and that made the difference. Had she found her right away, it was an open layup. Jasmine Thomas able to hit another from deep. And Connecticut with a 6-point lead. An 8-0 Connecticut response. Vadiva's jumper, Thomas flags it down. Thomas lobs it. Deflected by Gray. Chasing it down and laying it in. First field goal of the game for Chelsea Gray. Thomas bodies in and gets the whistle.
It's been a really physical game so far, and it's exactly what we had expected. These teams going back and forth all series long. Chelsea Gray forcing a turnover out of Connecticut, going the other way and finishing. Maybe this will be the spark for her offensively, Rye.
She was masterful in LA's second round win over Seattle. But Connecticut has done a terrific job shutting her down as Wnba and Beard check out. Ruffin Pratt and Kalani Brown in. So Derek Fisher handling this much more like he did the regular season with a much deeper rotation.
And such a different look for LA offensively. Wnba, a player comfortable facing the basket. Then you bring in Kalani Brown, 6'7", bruiser on the inside. Forcing the defense to match up and do different things.
Brown right back to Jones. Ruffin Pratt gets fouled by Holmes. Nothing pretty about that possession from LA, but it results in a foul. We'll step aside. These teams grinding it out in the second quarter of Game 3 of this best-of-5 semifinal. A beautiful Sunday in Long Beach, California. Game 3 of this best-of-5 semifinal series. Connecticut a win away from the finals. LA looking to stave off elimination. Connecticut a 24-18 lead. 5:43 to go in the second quarter. And for the Los Angeles Sparks, their big three, which we started the series talking about, just has not gotten going in sync yet here in this elimination game.
Well, what did NECA tell us before Game 2? Is we are at our best when we can get in a flow. Neither team has been able to get in a flow on the offensive end, and I think part of that is because the defense has been so good, and part of that is because you're playing the third game of a series, and you know exactly what your opponent wants to do. You know how to defend them. You know how to make it difficult.
Raquana Williams, no. Ruffin Pratt scraping in there with Holmes, trying to save it and does. And then Brown has it stripped. Here comes Thomas having a big game thus far and having a tremendous series. Holmes finds the cutter and Jones for two. And suddenly the buckets just look a little easier for Connecticut than they do for LA. A 12-2 Connecticut run. Necka's pass knocked away, taken by Thomas. Alyssa Thomas shielding, dishing, Thomas hitting. Jasmine Thomas, 11 points in his first half. Her third three of the game.
Jasmine Thomas in Game 1 had 19 points, 8 assists, 0 turnovers.
Jasmine Thomas playing tremendous basketball thus far, Holly Rowe.
You know, it's a tremendous journey for Jasmine Thomas. There was a point in her career where she wasn't sure if she could stay in the league, if she was good enough to still be on a team. But she determined that she would work in her time overseas. She got better at three-point shooting. She extended her range so teams couldn't sack off of her. They had to respect her. But more importantly, she has emerged as a leader they can count on. Her shot selection is improved, and she is the voice of reason on this team. Her poise has been palpable today. She is blossoming into that star. No more role player for Jasmine Thomas.
No question, averaging 13 points, 7.5 assists, and a team best plus 17.5 per game through the first two. That's off Thomas. Well, they're going to say this is still Connecticut ball, but that last hit Alyssa Thomas is Jasmine Thomas will check out after her good work from beyond the arc.
And she exerts so much effort on the defensive end of the floor, but she has been solid from the three-point line so far this series, getting a quick rest.
She is the only player in double figures thus far. As Connecticut turns it over, now LA trying to respond here at the end of the second. Kurt Miller doesn't like what he's seeing. He's going to take a timeout. A couple of sloppy possessions for the Sun and a timeout.
Kevin Connors in studio. Coming up on the WNBA halftime report presented by State Farm. We'll recap Game 3 of our other semifinal series. Wait till you see what Liz Cambage did on the floor, and wait till you hear what Liz had to say post-game. I promise you'll want to hear that. All coming up when you join us at the half. Back to Ryan, Rebecca, and Holly.
Outstanding tease, Kevin. We'll be locked in as well. Let's take a look at our upcoming WNBA national TV games. Tuesday, the semifinals continue on ESPN2. LA hosts Connecticut if necessary, and Las Vegas, we know, will take on Washington also on ESPN2. For more on these games and all playoff info, please go to WNBA.com or visit the WNBA app. Well, LA has scored 4 straight after Connecticut had built its largest lead. Gray through the lane, forcing her way to the rim.
Both of Gray's scores in the half court have come when Jasmine Thomas has not been defending her. She's not on the floor right now, and the last time it was just a different matchup.
Jonquel Jones getting ready to check back in for Connecticut. Courtney Williams, nice look inside, and the finish underneath by Jones. Courtney Williams has done a little bit of everything so far in this series. 9 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists so far today, as Wnba's shot is short. Meanwhile, Candace Parker has played just 7 minutes in this first half, as Williams misfires and Raquana Williams the rebound. Ruffin Pratt is going to be given that look. Gray looking to take Heidemann. Draws 2. Another look for Ruffin Pratt. She can't hit. Nneka Ogwumike on the follow.
We use the word relentless, talking about her getting to the offensive glass. She just says she's unbothered.
Heidemann gets the whistle from Nneka, and 2 free throws coming for Natisha Heidemann.
And to go back to Nneka, we asked her, you know, how would you describe yourself on the offensive glass? We describe you as relentless. She said unbothered. She said, I know most of the time when I go there, I'm not going to end up with the offensive board, but I still have to continue to go. I am unbothered when I don't get it. She's got to be the toughest player to check in the league in terms of boxing out on that end.
Ogwumike, former MVP, a champion in 2016, a 6-time All-Star. As Jonquel Jones checks in, Ruffin Pratt out. So it's Gray, Raquana Williams, Chiney Ogwumike, Nneka Ogwumike, and Alexis Jones. You surprised that the minutes have been so low for Candace Parker?
Well, Derek Fisher can afford to have her on the bench. His bench players have come in and done a pretty good job, and you wonder, too, what kind of conversations, as you see Nneka score, what kind of conversations Derek Fisher's having with Candace in terms of how she feels and how much she wants to be out there.
And that's a travel. Jonquel Jones turns it over, and Nneka Ogwumike fired up. Gray on the drive, finds Chiney, and this is about the most rhythm we've seen from LA's offense this series. And this is certainly the best stretch we've seen from Chelsea Gray. Heidemann tees it up and knocks down a big one. How about that poise from the rookie? Huge shot for Connecticut. Gray will fire. No. Alyssa Thomas is fouled on the floor by Chiney. First foul in the last 2 minutes. Side out of bounds for Connecticut. And it looked like Alyssa Thomas was given some sort of warning there, as there was some conversation afterwards.
All right, we need you super loud.
Let's check in with Holly.
Here we go.
Well, guys, I actually can hear what Alyssa Thomas said, and as she went to the lane hard, she said, all bleeping day. I can do this all bleeping day. They thought that was a little taunting, but she is brimming with confidence right now with her physical play.
And there praise afterwards.
And generally, she's right. Every team in the league has a hard time keeping her out of there.
Wnba can't hit. The lead is back to 8, could grow here. Williams jumper, no. Thomas on the offensive glass, had it taken away by Nneka. Here comes Raquana Williams. Just a slight difference game in shot clock. Derek Fisher's going to take a timeout. Well, you think about how big that 3 was for Natisha Heidemann. LA had built momentum, cut it to 3. And the rookie hit a 3 to make it 6. It's now 8. And Alyssa Thomas finally getting involved on the offensive end.
Connecticut calls her their engine, not only because of what she can do on the defensive end, but because of this. Back in Long Beach, where Connecticut has an 8-point lead, and Alyssa Thomas is the engine for this team. Does a little bit of everything, gets all over it on the defensive end. She's a facilitator.
Fired up. And it's a costly foul for Chelsea Gray because it's going to put Connecticut on the line with LA over the limit. And if you are Chelsea Gray, I'm not sure that risk is worth it, Rebecca, at this point, with how difficult it would have been for Connecticut to score there. I'm just not sure if you're Chelsea Gray, that's worth the risk.
I agree. You're playing hard, you're trying to make the play.
And instead, it's free throws for Shekinna Strickland with 1.2 on the clock. What'd you think? 50-50?
Yeah, about as 50-50 as they come.
Strickland, it's both. The home run pass. Williams will get a look. Oh, it was on line, just a bit short. And that'll do it for the first half. Connecticut with a strong defensive frame against LA. And that has been the story over the last 4 quarters. The defense of Connecticut. They have an 8-point.
They needed it. We know she's going to be relentless on the glass.
Well, the other real takeaway from that LA front court in the first half, Candace Parker played just 7 minutes in the first half. She has really struggled over the last 6 quarters. Just 7 points and 3 of 8 shooting. But it's got to be hard if you are Candace Parker and your season's on the line to only play 7 minutes in the half.
Yeah, that was surprising. She wasn't in foul trouble. She, you know, I thought maybe it was how her body felt or an injury thing. That wasn't the case either. So, yeah, I mean, this is a player who you've built your franchise around, and I'm sure she expected to be in there for longer than 7 minutes.
Well, there's the 3rd foul on Jonquel Jones as Nneka Wnba will work her way to the line. For a little more on Candace Parker, let's check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, I did check in with the LA Sparks athletic trainer to just make sure everything was okay with Candace, and she said to be fine. So that is not the issue at all, why she had those limited minutes in the first half.
Candace, we talked about at the top of the show, has struggled a bit defensively in this series, but in game 1, she was terrific offensively. Not only scoring, but facilitating. She is still a matchup problem when she is on the floor.
And when LA is at their best, she is at her best.
Yes.
So it almost feels like you're gonna have to dance with the one who brung you.
You're right.
Nneka Wnba has the last 8 LA points dating back to the end of the first half. This game 3 of the best-of-5 semifinals. Connecticut a 2-0 lead, trying to head to the finals for the first time since 2005. Thomas connects on another 3, her 4th of the game on 5 attempts.
Great in and out by Connecticut. LA had switched Parker on Thomas, simply can't defend her out there.
Here is Parker looking to take it to Jonquel Jones. Ruffin Pratt left alone and buries a jumper.
She's got to hit that. She's got to hit that because Connecticut will leave her. And, you know, in the minutes that she did play, Candace consistently found Tiara Ruffin Pratt. If she had made her shots, Candace would have had more assists.
LA had just 6 assists in that first half. Courtney Williams cans a jumper. Her first bucket since the first quarter. And a delay of game warning against Connecticut. Next one will result in a technical foul. LA has won 15 straight home games, including their second-round playoff win against Seattle. Those games, however, were at Staples Center, not here in Long Beach. Williams jumper, no, and once again, the struggles of a backcourt, a story. Raquana Williams is 0 for 5 from the floor. She has not scored in this game. Chelsea Gray finally started to get going a bit, hitting 3 of her final 4 shots in the first half.
And you hear people talk about all throughout the NCAA tournament, all throughout playoff basketball, it's your backcourt that's going to do it for you. And Connecticut in this series so far has had the more consistent backcourt.
Nice cut there and the finish from Thomas. 16 points on 5 of 6 shooting for Jasmine Thomas. The veteran on a team that does not have a single player over 30 years old. Five to shoot. Parker slinks through the lane, can't force it in. There is nowhere for LA to go. Williams pull-up is good. Timeout, LA. You think the Connecticut Sun are ready to punch that ticket? A 13-point Game 3 lead.
Courtney Williams got it done for Connecticut in Game 2 with 25 points. Getting it done here in Game 3 as well. Connecticut up 13. Welcome back to Long Beach, where the Connecticut Sun have a 13-point lead, and their chemistry is on full display. In particular, Jasmine Jones to Jonquel Jones to Jasmine Thomas. First for a 3, then on a beautiful cut to the basket. Connecticut Sun, the only team in the league to have the same starting lineup all season long. Their chemistry has been apparent here early in the third.
And the starting backcourt for Connecticut has continued to just annihilate what the LA Sparks have gotten from their starting backcourt. It was 37-8 in Game 1. It was a +8 in Game 2 in favor of Connecticut, and now a +22 so far tonight for Connecticut. By the way, I think Jasmine Jones is just what you call the 2-woman game of Jonquel and Jasmine.
There have been women's college basketball players named Jasmine Jones, so forgive me.
I thought you were just being innovative with a nickname. Connecticut came into this playoffs very motivated to prove their quote-unquote role players were actually stars ready to thrive on the biggest stage. So far in the semis, they have. Here is Parker. Lob it inside, and that's going to be a foul on Alyssa Thomas, her third. So now 3 on Thomas and 3 on Jonquel Jones. And if you want a lifeline back into this game, if you're LA, that might be it. Can LA put a 4th on either Jones or Thomas? Wnba can't hit the jumper. Jonquel Jones step back 3 is too long. Flag down by Ruffin Pratt. Gray throws it behind Ruffin Pratt, and LA turns it over.
You talk about the potential of putting fouls on Jones or Thomas. Right now, LA's guards just have to play better. They have to play better. They have to take care of the basketball. They have to find a way to score. They have to find a way to slow down Connecticut's guards.
Jasmine Thomas connects on another. She has 18. A 15-point Connecticut lead. Raquana Williams is going to go to the line to shoot 2. Let's take a listen into Derek Fisher, wired for sound.
You gotta run hard. You gotta run fast. You gotta make a good pass. Once you pass it, cut, screen, move, forceful. That's how we're gonna work our way back in the game. Okay? Come on. Come on. Together.
This is an elimination game in the semifinals of the WNBA playoffs, and Derek Fisher is imploring his team to play harder and to cut harder.
Well, this is something I talked about with Coach Fisher before the game. I said, look, you have a veteran team. Sometimes, if that team thinks it's clear, the other team's better, they don't want to extend the season. They may kind of be content to say, all right, I don't need to go back cross-country. I know how this story ends. As Jones and Nneka get tied up. We know Nneka doesn't want to go home.
She's not one of those.
And I said, do you get the feeling like your team believes it could still win this series and is going to put forth the effort showing as such? And he said, I think you find those things out as the game starts. It's a real thing. Talked about experiencing it with the Lakers on the famous 1-2-3 Cancun team that was ready to go home. He said he's talked to his team about it as a real thing. You find out more once the ball goes up, but he thought his younger players who were going to be implemented into the rotation would help with that here in this game.
Alexis Jones gave them a shot, you know, a boost in her minutes in the first half. And man, how angry and frustrated did Candace Parker look on the bench there.
Furious as Jasmine Thomas now has 20 points. It's all Connecticut as Chene can't finish. A 16-point cushion. Thomas through traffic. That's going to be a jump ball. Well, Rebecca, you know, you brought it up. Candace looks frustrated. How would you handle this right now if you're Derek Fisher? Knowing Candace Parker, I mean, she's your horse, but there's been some struggles.
Well, you know, you just got to start on the defensive end right now, and so it is an upgrade defensively to put Chiney Nneka in the game, but you would think there has to be some conversation between Derek Fisher and Candace Parker. I mean, a player just needs to know kind of what's going on and why, and it doesn't look to me like there's been a lot of that in this game on the sideline.
Just 11 minutes for Parker thus far. Williams jumper around and off. Nice box out from Chiney Nneka as Nneka collects it. Does LA have a little run in them? Gray fires a 3, and she has not connected from deep in this series yet. Jasmine Thomas gets the angle. How about Jasmine Thomas? 22 points on 8 of 9 shooting. Meanwhile, LA has missed 12 of their last 14 shots. And a foul called. If that's Alyssa Thomas, and it is, that is her 4th. Alyssa Thomas's 4th foul with 4:28 to go in this third.
On the other end of the floor, the other Thomas, Jasmine, when she turns the corner, has the speed and quickness to get to the rim. We've seen both sides of her game. She's been terrific from the three-point line. She's been terrific in attack, and she's their best perimeter defender.
Nneka Nneka swoops in for 2. If there's one player who has acquitted herself well from LA in this series thus far, it's been Nneka Nneka.
These last 4 minutes of this quarter are important for LA. For themselves to believe that they can make a run and to cut this lead down.
Well, that can help. A chance for 3 for Nneka Nneka.
We talked about it earlier. If there's one player on this LA Sparks team who's going to continue to fight, continue to believe, and continue to put forth the effort on both ends of the floor, it's going to be Wnba. Defensively, turning it into 2 points the other way, maybe 3.
"16 points for Wnba. No other LA Spark has more than 7. And she completes the three-point play. Nneka, the only player on the Sparks who's taken at least 4 shots and is shooting 50% or better today. Thomas throws it away. A chance for LA here. Nneka's 3, short. And LA really could have used that one. This building was into it. Williams takes a 3. No. Long rebound. Beard collects it. And a foul called against Tuck Inside as we check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, you said this earlier in the first half, and I think it's an important point right now, is Connecticut has had the same starting 5 lineup every single game this season. Their flow together and how they're working together is palpable at this time. For the LA Sparks, they have had injuries. They have had a suspension. They have only had the same complement on the floor, I think it's 9 or 10 times all season long, and that's what we're seeing right now. The rotations, just that consistency of play right now from the LA Sparks, not what we're used to seeing with this group compared to Connecticut Sun's chemistry.
Well, this last group that's been in for this last stretch for LA has found some while Alyssa Thomas went to the bench. While we have a different group for Connecticut on the floor than the one we've seen for the majority of the season and the series.
And the one that Holly's talking about. 11-point game, Rebecca said it. Important final minutes of this third. It's a 7-0 Wnba sister run. Williams blocked from behind by Beard. And suddenly, LA playing with a little life.
And it has started on the defensive end of the floor. Up the intensity LA has.
Morgan Tuck gets free on the inbound for a layup. Meanwhile, once again, this coinciding with Alyssa Thomas being in foul trouble. Thomas out with 4 fouls. Nneka's jumper is off. Beard fighting, and it's saved by Strickland for Connecticut. Jasmine Thomas gets the roll. She has the magic touch today. 9 of 10 from the floor, 24 points. And every time it feels like LA is going to creep back in, Connecticut has a response.
And many times, most times, it's been Jasmine Thomas with the response.
Beard, corner jump is off. Rebound Jones. Jasmine Thomas eyes up. Williams veers, takes and hits. 15 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists for Courtney Williams. And the lead is now 17, a 6-0 Connecticut run. Just when it felt like LA was clawing their way back in, Connecticut says, not so fast. Sports Center after Sunday Night Baseball with Kenny Mayne and John Anderson. They'll have highlights and reactions from Week 3 in the NFL, plus how the Flyers created their mascot. That's become a huge hit. And it's just the Cubs' last stand to make the playoffs. Sports Center after Phillies Indians on ESPN and the ESPN app. Ryan Rucco, the Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo, Holly Rowe with you at Walter Pyramid in Long Beach, California. The Sun, a 61-44 lead on the Sparks. Game 3 of this best-of-5 series. Connecticut, a 2-0 series lead, and it is increasingly starting to smell like a sweep here in California. Tuck, nifty through the lane, just couldn't get it to drop, but Williams will peel out with the offensive rebound. And a foul called against LA.
When LA has made runs, Connecticut's answered every time. And talking to Curt Miller before the game, he said this group believes that they belong in the finals. And maybe that's a little different from the teams in the past, but this team has a true belief, and they've certainly played that way so far in this series.
Another offensive rebound and more second chance points. This is complete domination from the Connecticut Sun. Denied. Jonquel Jones on the rejection.
Come on, y'all, let me see it.
Inside of a minute to go in this third quarter. Jasmine Thomas tried to squeeze it in, and Wnba comes over the steal, but then it's taken back, and a jump ball as Morgan Tuck got back to it.
Great effort by Tuck. Lost the ball, was on the ground, but got her hands in there. Nice job, lots of effort.
3 on the shot clock. It will remain as such after the jump.
Jonquel Jones begging for a substitution.
She needs a sub. She's looking for a breather here. As Brianna Jones will come in.
The best part was Curt Miller didn't see Jonquel Jones asking for the sub, so she looked at her bench at Brianna Jones and said, "Come get me.
I need you." Now they are giving a fresh shot clock, saying that Shanae had possession before Tuck locked her up. Nonetheless, LA wins it. Nine-second difference, game and shot clock. Sydney Weiss. Shanae will take, and Connecticut can hold for one, and Curt Miller reminds them as such. Williams will take. No. And that'll do it for the third quarter. Connecticut 10 minutes away from a trip to the WNBA Finals. They outscore LA by 11 in the third.
The Connecticut Sun, a team that Coach Curt Miller said this group believes they belong in the finals. They're playing like it here, 10 minutes away.
Welcome back to Los Angeles. Here with Sparks head coach Derek Fisher. And Coach, you told us before the game everybody deserves to have a say in how their season ends. So what are your factors you're considering with Candace Parker not playing much today?
Well, we're just trying to find every answer that we can in terms of activity, rebounding, defense, offense. Nothing's worked for us so far. So there's no sense not trying to do some things differently, and we'll see how it goes.
Where can you get some more offensive flow to close out this game?
From our defense. You know, they're scoring so easily that we can't get out into transition and attack before their defense is set. So any chance we hope to have, we have to get some stops in order to close the gap.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, let's get a super loud defense.
I'm still surprised. I'm still surprised that the limited amount of minutes that Candace Parker has gotten in this game.
11 minutes for Parker in an elimination game. Connecticut leading by 19 here in the fourth quarter of game 3. The Sun on the verge of a sweep. How about Courtney Williams, a career high 12 rebounds today.
She's the best offensive rebounding small guard in the league. She gets in there and gets up, and she's getting it done defensively today, too.
And add one more to the ledger. It's 13 as Thomas buries again. 27 from Jasmine Thomas, her 5th 3 of the game. Connecticut just looks like a perfectly oiled machine. Little pick and roll. Off the foot of Thomas. Holmes will take. No. And it's out of bounds to LA. Rebecca, going into this series, we thought this was going to be an incredibly evenly matched series that likely would go 5 games. Are you surprised at all by the way Connecticut has dominated up until this point?
I am. You know, I thought the series was going to be like the first 3.5 quarters of game 1, where it was really evenly played, and Connecticut has just been playing their best basketball of the season at the most important time. Courtney Williams playing the best basketball she's played. Alyssa Thomas doing the same. This team gelling, and the belief that they have that they are a championship-worthy team has put them in this place.
It's not a cast of role players, it's a cast of stars. As Connecticut turns it over, Jones called for the travel. Alyssa Thomas and Jonquel Jones get ready to check back in for Connecticut. They cannot do so here.
And Connecticut led by one of the best coaches in the WNBA as well. Curt Miller has done a phenomenal job helping build this roster, build this team, but also in the way he's coached and the way he has game planned all season long and during this series.
Thomas scoops it up and in. A 29-point night for Jasmine Thomas. And LA will take a timeout as Connecticut is just pasting the Sparks here in game 3.
All right, Spark fans, time to look to the video board for today's Equitrust replay of the game.
22-point Connecticut lead over LA. 7:43 to go in the fourth as we check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, if you want to consider the narrative all season long has been this Connecticut roster. They were young. They didn't have great playoff experience. They were eliminated in the first round elimination games the last 2 seasons. So think of how this has changed. Now they're on the verge of sweeping a very good LA Sparks team. Everybody wondered if they were good enough to do it in this moment, and I think this is a pretty definitive yes from this young squad.
This is a Connecticut Sun team that's capable of winning a championship this year. The way they are playing, the belief they have, this team is absolutely capable of winning the whole thing.
Beard hooks it up, can't finish it. And Wnba blocked, last hit LA. And Connecticut continues to have a firm clasp on game 3.
Clasp, not grasp?
Maybe both. We'll have to check with the judges. Thomas barrels in, hooks up, can't hit. LA Sparks enter this game having won 15 straight home games. And right now they're getting walloped at home in an elimination game. Jasmine Thomas nearly came over the steal.
Not a starter on the floor for LA.
Well, here's my question to you, Rebecca. I understand, and I'll ask you in a moment, don't miss your chance to catch your favorite players, teams, and the continued WNBA playoffs action in person. Get your tickets today at WNBA.com/tickets. I understand that if you are LA, you're trying to come up with something if you're Derek Fisher, but I mean, in an elimination game, is he pulling the plug on the starters a little too early?
Maybe a little, yeah. This might be a situation where you ask your starters, you want to go back and give it one more run.
Because you're down 22, but your season's on the line. There's still 6.5 minutes to go. He did this at the 8-minute mark.
Number 35, Jonquel Jones. That's her 4th personal foul, first team foul.
4th foul on Jonquel Jones. As Marina Mabry will check in for LA. Derek Fisher in his first year as head coach of the Los Angeles Sparks really made the pieces work well together during the regular season, but has had no answers for Connecticut here in the semifinals. Thomas the steal, Williams the finish.
Pretty offense, but let's talk a little bit more about Connecticut's defense. The LA Sparks have 46 points. Connecticut has done a stellar job of dictating the defensive end of the floor, who they want to take the shots, where they want them to take them.
And in 3 of the last 4 quarters of this series, LA has scored 12 or fewer points.
Not a recipe for success.
Not something mom hangs on the fridge. Jones finds a cutting Williams. Williams turning away, left it short. Jones an offensive rebound. And it caroms out to Connecticut. Thomas nearly lost it, finally did. It'll stay with Connecticut 5 to shoot.
Jasmine Thomas has been outstanding both ends of the floor. Gets it going as their catalyst on the defensive end, and it's going to lead to an easy 2 the other way. Back at game 3, where LA has 5.5 minutes to erase a 22-point deficit, and it's been because of the Connecticut Sun backcourt. Their defense has been stellar, limiting Chelsea Gray and Raquana Williams, and then on the other end of the floor, their offense has been outstanding. Jasmine Thomas hitting from deep, Jasmine Thomas driving the lane, Courtney Williams with her patented pull-up. This has been a Connecticut Sun backcourt who has owned much of this series.
They are a plus 40 tonight. You see they're averaging a plus 18 per game in this series. Just an incredible disparity, and it's hard to make that up. And we are so not used to seeing Chelsea Gray struggle the way that she has in this series against her former team. But that was the story in the regular season as well. Connecticut did a nice job defensively against Gray in the regular season also.
One, her primary defender was Jasmine Thomas, and 2, Connecticut played great help side defense. Now as I look at it, 5:19 left. Connecticut has 3 starters on the floor. But expect Kurt Miller very soon to replace those players. You certainly wouldn't want a turned ankle or anything of that nature these last couple of minutes of a game that's pretty much decided.
You see Derek Fisher has put his big guns on the bench. Mabry lost it, last hit LA. Connecticut basketball. See how long Kurt Miller sticks with these other starters. Jasmine Thomas is on the bench. So is Shakina Strickland. Heidemann hits another 3. And if you want to look back to the first half, Natisha Heidemann may have hit the biggest shot of this game. Connecticut had seen their lead slip to 3. LA finally had momentum. They were creating turnovers with about 3 minutes left in that first half, and Natisha Heidemann hit a corner 3 to make it 6. It soon became 8, and Connecticut never looked back.
It was like she hit the 3, and it was full stop. There goes that run.
After LA had cut it from double digits down to 33-30. Heidemann, another look from 3. Nearly banks that one in. Oh, and that's what you're talking about, Rebecca. Courtney Williams and Jonquil Jones both just went down. They appear to be okay. But if Kurt Miller needed a reminder, there it was. And now Kurt Miller's going to take a timeout. No need to chance anything further with 4 minutes to go in this fourth. And Connecticut, a 22-point lead on the verge of the finals. The WNBA playoffs continue Tuesday at 9 Eastern with Game 4, the Mystics Aces series. That game will also stream live on the ESPN app. Washington will get another chance to end it. Vegas another chance to extend it. And how about a little extracurricular verbiage from Liz Cambage afterwards, challenging the physicality of the Washington Mystics today.
It's interesting. I mean, the challenge on the interior in the first 2 games was that Vegas didn't have an answer for Emma Mieseman. She was terrific. Well, she was quiet in this one where Asia Jones and Liz Cambage just balled out.
Heidemann dishes back. Connecticut now has emptied their bench. All their starters now sitting with Kurt Miller, getting ready to celebrate the inevitable. Kurt Miller still stomping his feet, furious because Alexis Jones had an open look at the corner for a moment. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, Kurt Miller obviously is clearing his bench here, getting some players in, but his bench just got a little deeper. Possibly returning to this lineup for the finals will be Lasia Clarendon. She had surgery on her foot in June. She is expected to return to this team, kind of work her way back into some minutes. A poised, calming influence on this team. That's a little lift for this Connecticut Sun team as they move into the finals.
And somebody who they rave about as far as her influence goes in the locker room.
Gives them size and toughness defensively when she comes in at the guard position, is a leader who makes very good decisions on the floor.
Foul from behind against Heidemann. You know, I think that many would have gone into these playoffs looking at Washington as an overwhelming favorite to be the champs. But Vegas has played them very tough through the first 3 games, and that series still up for grabs. And Connecticut has certainly proved in this series they are absolutely capable of being a championship team this year.
Yeah, when I said that earlier in the telecast, that Connecticut can win a championship, you're like, of course they can. They're in the semifinals, and they're about to go to the finals. Well, the point is, Washington looked so good this season, and at times, especially in the latter part of the season, like they were going to kind of walk through the playoffs. Well, Vegas hasn't let them do that, and Connecticut has shown here they're a team very capable of winning it all.
2:40 to go, and the crowd's still engaged here. They've done a nice job coming out at Walter Pyramid, even though this is not the normal home for the LA Sparks. Connecticut's able to just dance and laugh on their bench for these final 2.5 minutes. Morgan Tuck can't lay it in. Here comes Jones, pushing it up the floor for LA. Blocked inside by Plaisance. And it's out of bounds to LA.
You're so happy to be able to say Plaisance.
I was waiting for her to get in the game for that reason. Plaisance.
What do you enjoy saying more, Plaisance or Ndu?
Ndu. Kalani Brown motoring inside, and a foul on the floor against Connecticut.
Against who?
Plaisance. Let's talk about LA for a minute, Rebecca. You know, how do you think they assess this season and the way it's about to end?
Well, it's tough. You know, Holly documented the lack of games where they had their full roster. And it was a team all season long that was inconsistent. Sometimes looked like world beaters, and other times kind of looked like they did today, and which is not very good. But yeah, you're interested to know, all right, what's Candace Parker's future? You know, how many years does she have left? And you know, what is going to be the pressing need for this team in the offseason in terms of free agency and the draft?
Actually had a conversation with Candace Parker a couple of days ago about just that, you know, her timeline. She said, you know, when you try to plan life, things happen and change. She's had a difficult season from an injury standpoint, but she said, I know this. I love the game of basketball, and I will not cheat the game. I don't think she has any kind of firm timeline, but she thinks that if she's cheating the game in any way, that it would be done for her. I love that. I love the game too much to ever cheat it.
And keep in mind, too, as part of the Wnba trade from Connecticut, Connecticut has LA's first-round draft pick.
Big decisions for Penny Toller, the general manager of Los Angeles, whose jersey actually hangs here in the rafters at Long Beach State, where she starred in the late 80s.
She scored the first 2 points in the history of the WNBA when she was playing for the Sparks.
There's Penny's jersey. And you would think LA will need some serious help along the 2-3 spot based on what we've seen in these playoffs. Meanwhile, for Connecticut, inside of a minute remaining before it's official. .46 points from the Connecticut backcourt tonight. Meanwhile, LA has 54 as a team. 29 for Jasmine Thomas, one off a career high. It is a playoff career high. 17 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists for Courtney Williams. Shot clock turned off. It's all cosmetic at this point. Alexis Jones will lay it in. The Connecticut Sun can dribble this one out. For the first time since 2005, the Connecticut Sun are headed to the WNBA Finals. They dominate the LA Sparks in a 3-game sweep.
All right, fans, we want to remind you, if you purchased from the Spark store and got a wristband, stick around for the post-game autograph session.
A team that has built its playoff campaign around the theme of disrespect is certainly earning everybody's respect in these playoffs.
The question for some coming into this, does Connecticut have the experience? Do they have the stars to make a run in the playoffs and get to the WNBA Finals? In these 3 games, they have answered unequivocally, yes.
The LA Sparks retreat to their locker room amidst cheers from their loyal fans here in Long Beach. But it's the Connecticut Sun who advance to the finals, where they will face the winner of the Mystics and the Aces, as we send things over to Holly Rowe.
Well, this Connecticut backcourt almost outscored LA by themselves. Jasmine, how do you describe the way that you, with a playoff career high, led this team today?
Just with confidence. I had my teammates talking to me, telling me to keep going, stay aggressive, and that's what I did. When we have this much energy, when everybody's playing with that much confidence, you want to be a part of it.
The tone was really set defensively, Courtney. You guys got after it, making it difficult for LA to score. How did this defense really step up?
Man, we just stayed tough. You know, we know that they're a tough team. We knew that they was going to come out the same way they came out last game. But we stayed tough and we played some basketball.
I know you guys had a chip on your shoulder this whole playoff. How do these role players look to you right now?
Oh, baby, we look good. Talk to us. And talk nice. Talk nice. Let's go, baby. You a dog. You a dog. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, everyone's talking nice now about Courtney Williams and her Connecticut Sun team, who have had star performances across the board in what is now a